Currently, 25% of the US population has some form of disability, visible and invisible. 13% of the population has a physical disability. 1 in 59 children is now diagnosed with autism. And 40 million Americans are now suffering from anxiety. Hi, my name is Megan Winters. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ableize. We provide virtual walkthrough tours of public spaces across the US for the purpose of accessibility for people with physical and invisible disabilities. In addition to accessibility, virtual tours are a cutting-edge and powerful marketing tool for businesses, particularly during this time of COVID. Ableize is helping to rebuild our businesses, attract a diverse customer base, and help educate businesses on inclusive practices. In response to this need in the community, we created Another Perspective with Ableize. This series is intended to share resources with our community, highlight some of our Ableize accessible businesses that we partner with, and share inspiring stories. On today's episode, we have Sarah Salter with Sarah Travels Happy. Sarah is a special needs mom of 3 children with medical, developmental, and mental health diagnoses. She spent 13 years learning to travel the world with her 3 miracles, and now is helping other special needs families to have the same opportunities. Thank you so much for being here today, Sarah.
Hi, how are you? Happy to be here.
I am so good. I think this is such an amazing opportunity to share a great resource out there that maybe some families don't know exists. I know that there are like statistics out there, and I'm sure that you know some of them, that so many families that have either a child or a loved one with special needs either don't travel or they don't travel often or as much as they'd like to. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey as a parent and how you went from being afraid to travel to then kind of exploring the world with your family?
Sure. So, I've got the hat trick, all 3 developmental, medical, and mental health. Yay. But the research I've done shows that 90% of special needs families, when surveyed, say they don't travel as much as they would like. And I totally get that because, when you have a special needs child, there's this moment where like regrets or sadness, and then there's stubbornness and like, I don't care, we're just going to do it all anyway. And then when that doesn't work out exactly the way you think it's going to go, a lot of times what special needs families do is they just decide that whatever it is, either the ballet lesson or the spring break or the whatever, is not for them anymore. That this is a part of life and society that they're not welcome in or able to access. So they take that experience, whatever it might be, and they like put it in a box, right? And they put the box on the shelf, and then the box gathers dust and they move on with their lives, thinking what their new life is going to be like. And that life is generally a life that, in some ways, is less rich, right? Like travel, using that as an example, makes you a more creative thinker. It gives you experiences that are unique and it shows you different cultures. So I think that's one area where it's really unfortunate that special needs families don't get to engage in that way. So for me, I'm a lifelong traveler. I was a military brat, and then I studied abroad in undergrad and grad, wanderlust in my 20s, all of those things. And then I had my first daughter. He was born at 28 weeks. We both almost died. So, you know, definitely not what I was expecting of my first experience as a mom. And, for a while there, we slogged it out. Like at 10 months old, we had her on a transatlantic flight to Germany. Um, we were determined that we were still going to do everything that we thought we were going to do. But as she got older, she's on the spectrum and she has a feeding disorder. She has issues with food. She has severe reflux. So she used to vomit everywhere, especially with textures. I mean, we're talking Linda Blair, like everywhere. So we got to the point where we would go to a restaurant and she would throw up. And, I used to wait tables. So I felt guilty that she threw up, and I'm like on my hands and knees trying to clean up vomit because the poor waitress. And then my husband is just upset, and my daughter's crying. And then all the people around us are
Mhm.
giving us this look like, why can't you control your kid? What's wrong with you? Like, we're trying to have a romantic dinner and your kid is screaming. So we got very, eventually got to the point where we wouldn't even go out to eat. So forget transatlantic flights to Germany, right? We're not even going to TGI Fridays because that's like, it was just too much. And so it was literally 13 years from there until, 2 years ago, where I took that same daughter on a Disney cruise and gave her full check in and out privileges from the kids club so that she could quote unquote be normal, and in quotations normal with all the other kids and run around and get into trouble and have too much ice cream and do all of those things. But that was like a journey. It was such a long journey that it required a lot of learning by trial and error and a lot of resources that I was lucky to have. I lived in Pennsylvania at the time, which gave us a lot of resources that is not accessible to families everywhere. I'm in Georgia now, so I can attest to that. Like the same resources are not available here. But it took a long time. And then, I'm trained as an educator, but I wasn't able to teach full time because of therapy and doctors. And schools do kind of
Mhm.
expect you to be in school for like certain hours of the day. Um, so I was home for most of my kids' lives. And then I decided that I needed to do something for me, right? Like I needed to be a human instead of just a special
Mhm.
needs mom. So I decided to give being a travel agent or a travel advisor, your pick, a try since travel is near and dear to me and I had a lot of experience doing it. So now I'm a travel advisor and I specialize in family travel. But I look at that again, that word, the spectrum, all the way from your destination wedding or honeymoon to you're going on a family reunion with the grandkids, like that whole gamut. And then special needs travel, obviously, bringing in that personal experience and the training I have as an educator. And then I'm also a certified autism travel professional through IBBCES.
Okay, wow. You have so, I mean, such an amazing story that I think probably resonates with so many people in this community and in the ableized community. Just like knowing and understanding like what it's like to go to a restaurant where people are staring at you and maybe not understanding what you're going through. Um, and that's so much part of like why we do what we do with able eyes is we want to help families have opportunities like you said to live a fulfilled life, and then have those experiences in life and because of having some of those resources, maybe it can be possible. So um, what advice would you give families that are considering travel that maybe haven't done it yet? Like if they have never gone to Disney, they've never gone on a cruise, it's something that they want to do after COVID, of course. Um, and what steps should they take, or what advice would you have?
So the key one for me is don't give up. Don't assume that it's not for you. And then use your tribe, whatever that is. If you're lucky like I was at the time, we had an OT that was amazing. We had an ABA and a mobile therapist. They all worked with us to put together resources over the course of years to to be able to travel. But if you don't have those things in your life, reach out to somebody like me, um, because first of all, you have to understand traveling is possible, but then it's planning that trip. And it's not, sometimes you can't put the square peg in the round hole, right? So it's not just like, can I give you the top 5 tips and tricks? And then you use those tips and tricks to go anywhere. For some families, that's not the option. Everywhere is not an appropriate place for you to go.
Mhm.
But there are places out there where you are welcome and wanted and accommodated. And working with people that have knowledge like that can make sure that they're setting you up for success. So that's the key part. Know that you can go, but then set yourself up for success by using your tribe, using experts, so that you're going where you're accommodated and you're not trying to force your square peg into a round hole, right? I mean, there are places out there that are certified autism centers where you can swim with dolphins and ride horseback through the ocean. You can do all those really cool things, but do it in a way where they're trained to help you and support you instead of just, trying to do it all on your own, because that's not going to help you feel successful. And if you don't feel successful, you're going to have a bad time and then you're not going to want to go back.
Right.
And the
Absolutely.
point is for you to travel again, right? It's not like a one and done, right? I went to Disney once. Yay, I'm never going anywhere again. That's just not the way that it works. We want you to go every year, go to different places, but in order to do that, you got to set yourself up for success.
Absolutely. And so, what if people wanted to get in touch with you and learn more about, maybe they have a child on the spectrum and you have a list of places that are, great and accommodating and educated working with people on the spectrum. Or maybe somebody has a loved one with a physical disability and you could help them with, finding a place that's accessible, has accessible beaches and things like that. How would they get a hold of you? Like your website, social media? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So the big thing with me is happy. Like that's my theme. So my website is sarahtravelshappy.com. That's a pretty good place to start. You can find almost anything you need to know there. Um, but I'm in Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I just signed up for TikTok, so it'll be fun. Um, but yeah, sarahtravelshappy.com, or you can just Google Sarah Travels Happy. I hashtag everything. I've checked the first 20 or so entries. If you type that in, are all various places where I post things. So I'm pretty easy to find.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise on travel. I know that this topic is something that it's a hot topic out there, um, especially now. Everyone is so the interesting thing about this pandemic is that now everybody understands isolation. Isolation was something that maybe somebody like with disabilities or a family member with a disability understood isolation prior to the pandemic, and now everybody understands it. And so everyone is stir crazy, everyone wants to travel, and I think that the services that you provide are going to be very, very valuable in the upcoming years. So really, really appreciate your time. And for our listeners, please share this episode so that others that may be able to or may need this resource can learn about it. Um, and then we will be back next week or possibly the following week with another episode. But thank you so much, Sarah, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.